Evening all, as they say. Um, Welcome to Thursday of half term. Today I'm going to talk to you about control. But first, a word from my sponsor, Carla.
The biggest problem with insurance is that people don't actually understand how it works. Not only how they can protect themselves, but their children as well. If you would like to learn more about how you can do this, from life insurance, critical illness cover, income protection and children's cover, then please get in touch today. I'm Carla Edwards from The Protection Parent, and please let me help you protect what matters most.
Lovely, thank you, Carla. Right, tonight we're talking about the wisdom of control, which might sound like a really straightforward thing, and actually it is. Obviously, as usual, I'll make it applicable to my situation, as you like. So, what I'm going to talk about is losing control, controlling what you can, and letting go of what you can't control. And these are quite important when dealing with cancer and grief every 3 weeks, and will do for the rest of my life, which will take me to 138, thankfully. So what made me think about talking about control today was the fact that I've just had my holiday to Portugal shat all over by coronavirus, unfortunately. So while I'm sat at home crying into my fake boob, I thought, well, it is rubbish. I'm not going to Portugal, but it's hardly the end of the world. And that is a lot of about control, because some people have complete meltdown about this, and it is really sad that I'm not going, but it's hardly the end of the world. And it makes you think about control. So when I look at it, I guess this is where the serenity prayer would come into it, which a few of you have probably heard of. I didn't know that it was called this, which is: grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Now, in Bristolian Heidi language, for me, that is letting go of what you can't control and taking control of what you can. So it's super important, actually, when dealing with a really shit situation. So losing control, for me, when I first realised that I'd lost complete control, was after my daughter had died, and I then found out my cancer was incurable, and that things weren't looking great for me. The cancer had spread. It was fairly evident down the side of my body. And I liken it to what I would say standing on the edge of a cliff edge and then starting to fall off the cliff, plummeting towards the ground, and it was going to be messy. Complete lack of control. Didn't know what to do, didn't know where to be, didn't know where to put myself, had no idea, gave no shit about anything except the grief that was surrounding me. And that was really difficult, obviously, because there's no guidebook on how to deal with a terminal cancer diagnosis and the loss of a baby, all within an incredibly short space of time at a young age, and with 2 small children at home. So that was my definition of completely losing control. A lot of people asked me, well, how did you bounce back from that? Because clearly, look, I'm able to sit here and talk to you in a reasonably succinct manner, and I can keep my shit together effectively. And how do I do that? Well, it's many things, and we've talked about that before, and it's a whole different discussion in itself. But what I mainly say is about control. So when I was falling off this cliff edge, I recall, I watched a funny movie that made me laugh, and then I felt really guilty because I'd laughed and my daughter had died, and I was a terrible mother, because if you're deep in grief, you shouldn't be able to have any pleasure in life whatsoever. I mean, that's what we believe, right? But actually, we're human beings. And that laughter was a turning point for me, which made me feel good. It made me realize that I still had a bit of life in me, and how was I going to apply that, and how was I going to build on that. So I would say that was the point where, as I was falling off the cliff, I swung back around and grabbed hold of a piece of the cliff, and how I was going to pull myself back up, and that was my control. what those control elements looked like were really simple. So it was things like just literally getting out of bed one day and changing my pants. I think I lived in the same pants probably for about 3 weeks, because you don't care about anything other than the fact that your daughter has died, or you've lost somebody that you love, and your whole world's imploding. And putting on your pants is the first step into control. It's something that I could do. I couldn't change the fact that I had terminal cancer, and I couldn't change the fact that Ali had died, but I could put on my pants, and I could put on some fresh clothes, and I could put on deodorant, and then I could go downstairs maybe and make the kids breakfast, and I could watch the television, and I could then start to go for a walk, and then I could watch more funny movies, and then I could laugh a bit more, and the more I laughed, the better I felt. But it was still running alongside that guilt of, well, you should never be happy again. How dare you be able to be happy about anything when something so desperately awful's happened to you. But actually, even with a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, you still have a life, and you deserve to be happy in that part of your life. And so for me, it was just about not thinking about, oh my God, everything is so dreadful, it's horrendous, everything that's happening. All I can think about is sadness and darkness, and it's dreadful. But actually, what can I control? It was about anything simple. And then the most important thing is then learning to let go of things that were completely out of my control. So yes, I couldn't stop what was happening to me physically. If the cancer was going to spread, the cancer was going to spread further. I couldn't change the fact that, our daughter had died. There was nothing I could do about that. And it had to just accept that, and learn to live with it in my life, and not having any expectations that at some point I won't feel sad about this. It will just be that although this grief is, let's say it was this size, not, literally, it was humongous, obviously, and still is. And that's your whole world. And that's grief completely filling that. And then you make your world bigger around the outside of that. So that grief still stayed the same size, but I made a bigger world around the outside of it to cope with it, if that makes sense. And that was letting go then necessarily of the things I couldn't change, because you can't change when you're going to die. I know it's very obvious, but you can't do anything about that. And you could be the happiest, healthiest, most, everything person ever, and then something terrible can happen to you, and you just can't do anything about it. And that's all about that letting go of the things that you cannot control, and you can let your life be swallowed up between this point and the point of your death. This is the way I looked at it. I can let everything crap that's happened to us eclipse all of those parts of whatever life it was I had left. But then if I lived for another 100 years, all of it would have been shit, because I'd have let it have been dominated by the darkness and nothing else. And so there has to become a point when you think, well, it's one life, you've got to live it well, and you've got to live it to the best of your ability, because you're in that life, and it'll be a really crap time traveling from one point to the other. So I could control that. Oh, I hate the word journey. I need an alternative. That pathway, maybe. I hate the word journey. That pathway, that getting from A to B, I had that control, but I had no control of what the end result would be, as do none of you, because you will not be in control of the day that you do die. I'm sure that's not a shock to anybody, but it's challenging, and control is something that you learn over time, but also you owe it to yourself. Don't owe it to anybody else, but you owe it to yourself to be able to be in control of the things that you can. And you can have dark days, and people say to me, oh my God, you're always so positive, and you're always, I'm not. I'm a human being. There are times where I just feel absolutely shite, and I get annoyed at the world, and I think how unfair it is, and all this kind of stuff. But when I feel like that, I feel really crap, and I think, well, I don't want to feel this crappiness indefinitely. So I have to pull myself back out of it and just get on with life, really. And control is it's a hard thing to learn, but it is also, it's really simple. So take control of what you can and let go of what you can't. Now I'm just gonna open the comments in case anyone's got any questions. Oh, it's all hellos. Hello, everybody. And it's very nice to speak to you all. Any questions that you have and you want to ping them to me, just fire them off. And it's really great to speak to you all. Plenty more where this came from, as usual. Hope you're enjoying the half term, and I will speak to you soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.